the show that you're on, Married at First Sight, is it 18th season?
Well, in our 19th season, you're right. We did for a while, we did 2 seasons a year. So it's
Right.
11 years, not 19 years, but it is kind of a unicorn that way.
So, and it seems that you don't have a lack of people wanting to get on the show. So I feel like young people a lot of young people still want to get married.
Absolutely. We get thousands of people per city. We've been in New York, Charlotte, New Orleans, Dallas. I mean, a lot of different kinds of places. And by the way, everyone says their city is the worst one to date in. Absolutely 100%. Everybody
Wow.
says their city's the worst. How can they all be the worst? Because it's tough to do. So
Right.
we get thousands of people who say, please, in every city we go to.
What is the reason that the show has them not see each other before the altar?
Well, that's a good question. I think part of it is, the drama of it, fair enough. But also, I think we want people to want to be matched to someone who's committed to them. That's their main issue. And we also want them to be able to get to see this person's inner self and not turn off like, oh, that's not for me.
Right.
We try and pick people who are nice looking. Sometimes they're very good looking, but sometimes they're just nice looking. And they might have passed this person on the street and not glanced at them. But there's things that we can discover because we're taking the time to get to know them beforehand that we think will be good for them. And we don't want that person to be dismissed out of hand.
Right.
And so it's a good reason not to sue before.
So what are some of the things you look for in a successful participant in the show?
I look for somebody who wants marriage, not dating, not sex, not just romance, but someone who wants a lifetime partner. They have their back and they have their back, and to create a world together, and maybe kids, but for sure this thing that is bigger than both of them. And I want that to be an intense desire.
Right.
I would say the second thing I care about is they have to be flexible and not reactive. Flexible means, okay, they didn't get to pick this person out. There are going to be differences. How can they change their lives to accommodate each other?
Mm-hmm.
And not reactive, I would say, is somebody who's thin-skinned. I mean, you say one thing and they get angry, their identity gets questioned, etc. This is one of the things that is the most difficult with people. Thirdly, I want them to have not too specific a template. I mean, there are some people who need this person to be a certain kind of shoulders and a certain kind of hair color, certain kind of everything. And that kind of person, maybe we hit it on the head by accident, but these people will never seen each other before. So we need somebody who could find a lot of people attractive by their smile, their eyes, their things like that. And I want someone who's kind, empathetic, someone who can understand somebody besides themselves. We all have a certain amount of narcissism. We need it to get a headline, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it can't be the overwhelming way you deal with someone else. You have to have some understanding of why you would want to please that person in their own terms and not just necessarily in your terms.
I feel like we all want that person that you just described.
Yes. Well, but
Where is that person?
Out there. They are out there. I mean, that's the thing. People come to us, they say, I have been through it. I've seen them all. No one's out there like that. And I'm here to tell you they are out there. They may not have been in the package that you were, seeing on the street, but they're there.
Can you name just a couple of things that people have to have in common for you to match them? I mean, those are all characteristics you talked about, but there's got to be some certain things like religious backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, those kind of things.
They have to agree on children, whether they want them or not. Mm-hmm. They have to not just be sort of open to other races, but have shown that they've dated them, that's actually either a preference or, have a lot of knowledge about them. We're not going to try somebody's first experiment with someone of a different race. That's an important thing. Religiosity is much more important than religion. Mm-hmm. How religious you are means a big deal. You could be different religions, no big deal, or you need to read the Bible every night together. I mean, those are really big differences. Mm-hmm. There are certain physical differences that are important. Height. For some people, I swear to God, hair color. Mm-hmm. There seems to be some prejudice against redheads.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. It seems to me
No.
the silliest difference in the world. But if somebody has a deal breaker, we respect it.
Right.
That said, I've had couples happen just recently, last season, where a woman said, "No, I don't want anyone black. I mean, I like black people, but I'm not going to marry one."
Mm-hmm.
But what happens on the show, she falls in love with somebody else whose husband who's black.
Right.
So sometimes people say one thing and their inner
Mm-hmm.
heart does another. So it's
Yeah.
hard to know. But I think values are really important. I think these days political values are very important.
Mm-hmm.
People are really quite separate about
Yeah.
that. I think it'd be very hard to put couples who were very far right and very far left together. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else do I think? I think people should be sort of going in the same direction.
Yeah.
What kind of life do they want?
Mm-hmm.
And we try and put that together. If somebody lives to travel and somebody lives to be at home, that's just not a good one, right?
Right. Well, how does finances affect that? The putting them people together.
Well, money helps a lot of problems. You
Mm-hmm.
can buy yourself out of some certain anxieties, for example. Not worrying about the rent every month is a really good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think people have a range, though. If somebody has everything else they want, sometimes those economics are not as important as you might think.
Mm-hmm.
I think education is actually more important than a very specific amount of money.
Right. Yeah.
However, if you need somebody wealthy and you say absolutely nothing but that, we're going to respect that.
Right. So how many couples do you put together per season? Is it just one?
5,
You put 5 couples together per season.
yeah. And they're
So
followed by a crew. So they have 5 crews that kind of live with them, except during sleep hours. They have a lot of filming.
wow. So and what's the success rate been over the years?
I'd say it's about, well, it depends what you think of as success. I have 2 measures. And I'm
Okay.
not just trying to be,
Yeah. No,
kinda
I want to hear. I want to hear
right?
your 2
Okay,
measures.
what is if they're still together after 5 years? And I'd
Wow.
say
Yeah.
about 20% of them are. And
Wow.
we've got 16 babies that are on the
Wow.
ground. So, families, we create
Yeah.
families. But the other thing I would say, and I think we're at the 90% rate there, which is, are you glad you did this? Are you a better person for it?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be a better partner in the future?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, at a very high rate, they say, yes, I would do it again. I got a lot out of it. I'm a better person for a marriage in the future. And a lot of the people that didn't end up married contact us later and say, just that. Thank you
Yeah.
for helping me get to this point myself. I mean, we're not perfect. We
Right.
don't always put together a match that once
Mhm.
take the layers of the onion off that,
Mhm.
we would have done it again with those 2 people. But we do find some people that belong together, and we do help most people.
So on that wedding day when they show up to see each other for the first time, have there been times when it was just immediate no way?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
One of those from the very first season, after she said yes, she did say yes. And then she went and cried in the corner and said, the experts have let me down. And that hurt a lot because I was her expert. But over time, they fell in love and they have 4
Oh.
children.
Oh my gosh.
So they're fine. It was a
Right.
rough start. Then we had something that's never happened before, and I hope it'll never happen again. We had one woman go up to the, and they signed all kinds of things that they'll at least give this a shot. And she went up to the altar, took one look, and walked out.
Yeah.
And that was horrible. We actually, which is not usual, were able to match him with somebody else. But we had to ask him and her if they would be willing to do this again. And they did. And they didn't end up married, but they did care a lot about each other and they were a good match. I think in that case, we didn't know that their future lifestyles would be so different. One
Mhm.
wanted to sort of live in a farm and, adopt animals, and the other was a city guy, and ultimately they weren't heading on the same path. If we'd known more about that, we wouldn't have done it.
And for being on this show for 19 seasons now,
Yeah.
it sounds exhausting, but has it changed your views on relationships at all and marriage?
100%. I mean, that's funny. I've done all this research, but I really didn't understand how much people get in their own way and defeat themselves. Say they want something and truly want it and still do everything they're used to doing to defeat the possibility of this thing going forward. I don't think I understood how powerful that was. That's probably the biggest thing I found out. And also the ways they do it,
Right.
and how much fear people carry with them. So much of the behavior people do to undermine themselves comes from fear-based stuff. I'm going to reject it. This isn't right for me. The glass is half full as opposed to glass is half empty. Just a lot of fear-based behaviors that I hadn't taken into account in the way I should.
Yeah. So if someone's listening to this and let's say a couple that's not on your show, what advice? Because I mean, having expert people study you, understand who you are, study the other person, and put them together, kind of gives you a head. You're a running start. So, what advice would you give someone who's not on your show, who's thinking about getting married? Like I've heard people say before, if you're dating someone by the third date, you need to introduce them to people that know and love you, because they're going to see things you don't see.
Well, I think I would wait more than the third date. The fact is you can learn a lot about your marriage and you can correct a lot about your marriage. And you could have insight about yourselves by watching this show. I mean, it sounds a bit self-serving, but I have had a lot of couples say, we've learned a lot just by watching it. In fact, I swear this is true. Yesterday, I got an email from some people who invited me to their wedding who met watching the show in some kind of group that was watching the show and were drawn to each other and learned a lot about how they each react to what is going on in front of them.
Right.
And they feel that that played a great deal of what their attraction and ultimate commitment was to them. So I do think we can help people who aren't on the show.